This is season 2 of the Money Talks, Money Matters podcast.
Today we kick off with brand new information, brand new guests, and we're excited for what's coming your way.
For the first episode, we have Stephen Litman, who is a real estate broker who also has a history in mortgages and insurance.
We talk about important investing strategies for people that are new to the game. We talk about the importance of consistency and the important 4-letter word that's crucial for your success.
Now let's launch right into it.
Let's go.
Prepare for launch in 3, 2, 1.
Stephen Litman.
Good morning.
It's great to have you on this fabulous morning. You want to just share a little bit about you?
Sure. My name's Stephen Litman. Originally from New York, moved to Florida when I was very young at 10 years old. Called Broward County, Coral Springs, my home. Went to school here, graduated from Douglas in 92. Short term in the military, U.S. Air Force. Came back, decided to go back to school a little late in life, got a late degree. Been through that career, been through 3-4 others. I'm a single father. I've got 2 kids, got a beautiful girlfriend. We have 2 dogs, and we live in West Palm Beach now. I'm a full-time real estate agent and broker, soon to be the new broker owner of Blue Realty of Palm Beach.
Awesome. So basically going to run it back. So how did you really get started off, and how did the Air Force really help your, life path?
Air Force was a young decision to give me some direction, some stability. As a graduate of high school without having a very clear path of what I wanted, I thought the military may be a good opportunity for me to not just kill time, but to figure myself out. And that's like pretty much what it was. It was not a career move. I have friends that are still in the military and thank them for their service all the time. It was more just like time to figure myself out. I wasn't ready for college. College would have been the best path for so many reasons, but the military gave me a lot of my grounding that I needed, a lot of my structure that I needed, a lot of maturity time came through those years of the military. So I walk away with a lot of good qualities, and I always encourage people, if they don't know what they want to do, it's always an option. Thankfully, it wasn't an option for me like to get out of jail or anything. I was a good kid.
Got you. So what made you not want to go to college? Just off the bat.
It was not that I didn't want to go to college. Maybe I didn't have the right peers, the right guidance back then to prepare me in the time that I should have been preparing my sophomore, junior year. Senior year came, and then at the end of the senior year, it was, where you're going to go to college? And I hadn't even started that process yet. So BCC was where I ended up. And in the first 6 weeks, I started realizing that there were so many people there that were there for 4 years or more, and I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be doing that. So I saw the military as being something that I would potentially get some kind of training, do potentially some trial. You see it all on the commercials. There's nothing like that. Don't believe what you see on TV. But yeah, you take what you get out of everything in life. And I took a lot of the good things. There were a lot of bad things that happened, just in general, you don't like your job, you get stuck doing a shift that you didn't want to do, but at the end of the day, it was overall, it was a good time for me in the sense that, like I said, I went through a lot of maturing. So when I was able to come out of the military, I still didn't know what I wanted to do, but I now knew more what I didn't want to do. And, I came back to South Florida and, tried, becoming a human again, got jobs here and there, worked through various jobs doing customer service, this and that, worked for American Express, nice corporate job, great benefits, and you get locked into this lifestyle of where, you're making X number of dollars, you get so many days of vacation, you get so many days of sick time. And as long as you stay within those comfort zones, you live, potentially a good quality life, but there's comfort is in the hand of the person living it. If you can live on just water alone, then you live a great life. But if you like this and that, and your tastes get change, and then the costs change. And so it's all a matter of living within your means. So if you can live on that structure, and that there is what it's going to be every year repeating itself, then that's great for people. I had the opportunity to get into the mortgage business back in 2005. And it was, I went from being a salaried employee working for a company making X number of dollars, we'll call it under 50.
Mm-hmm.
And I got my mortgage license in the first year. I made 150,000.
Mm.
It was like, whoa, and I could have made more if I wanted to work more, So, it just opened my eyes to the opportunities of, being on a structured schedule where you know what you can and can't do versus becoming an entrepreneur, working for yourself, having endless opportunities and learning what the pitfalls of that is, because you could have a good year just as good as you could have a good year, you could have a bad year, and bad years are bad. But when you're working for the man and the man's paying you, as long as he's paying you, everything's good. You do your job, get your benefits, get your paycheck, you repeat. Being self-employed has had, some of its challenges, but still doing it. So.
Yeah. So basically, what made you take that risk? Like, what made you go from being a corporate employee to actually going on and being your own boss?
There were a couple of deciding factors. It was something that I had wanted to do for quite some time. I won't lie. But I've never been considered the adventurous type. I don't take high risk. So going from the stability and the structure that I was living to being independent was a huge leap. It was easier because I was being given opportunities in the way that I came into the business. I came in through some family members at the time who were very established and kind of like a mentorship program,
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to learn from some of the brightest minds, people that had been in the business for 30, 40 years, taught me as if I was a baby chicken. They fed me. I would go, Mama, I need information. And they just feed it to me and they'd get me through it. And I'd learn from not my mistakes, but from their mistakes and how not to make those mistakes. So it was a step up. It's hard to get into these types of businesses without experience. Everyone says, oh, there has to be a first for everything. Yes, you have to have your first deal. And then your second deal is no longer your first deal. But getting that first deal closed is sometimes really challenging. And then once you've closed it, it's figuring out how to close more transactions.
So basically it was after the first deal, that's when you realized that this is it for me.
I realized that the opportunities were endless, and this was a good place for me to grow and to learn.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would have to agree with that just because I worked at Publix for 4 years. And then after closing my first deal in Coral Springs, after seeing that check, I said, off of 2 months of busting my ass, I've made more money than I have in all 4 years. And I was like, this is the life of an entrepreneur.
I don't disagree. Having friends that have worked their entire life at Publix, great company. They start off as bag boys in high school, and now they're store managers, and they're going to retire millionaires.
Yeah, all
of them.
Yeah,
they've contributed to themselves, and they've worked a system, and they've had that stability. And there is, but not every job has that path. Not every company is like a Publix where they invest in you if you invest in yourself. American Express was like that. They offered some nice benefits like that, but not many companies do today. And so if you can find yourself in a career where you have a good salary, you get into a high level of management, and you're okay with that. It really just depends on your path. But being self-employed, like I said, comes with the risk comes with the reward. You can't go out and say, oh, I brought in a new client and I've just earned you this. I want my cut.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're an entrepreneur, that is the opportunities that you hope for. You hope to get in on something that ends up making you, those big windfalls.
So being a risk adverse person, when you're going into entrepreneurship and being a self-employed person, what was some steps that you did to kind of do some risk mitigation and keep things on the safer path? So you don't blow up your entire bank account type thing.
Yeah, well, I came from a place and an upbringing of living within your means. To the best of your ability. I mean, shit happens. Cars break down.
Yeah.
You have unforeseen bills that can cause damage. But if living within your means, if you set up to that expectation, then when you exceed your expectations on income, then you're in a better place, and so that it was hard initially, like I said, getting into the first couple of deals, getting a little bit of a bankroll, and then having that build upon itself, being able to use that to then market more means more opportunities means more money, repeating, staying consistent. And that's, those are some of the lessons that I think a lot of people in sales learn, about those strategies of being consistent and focused, and, the process of keeping that river flowing.
So what's your framework for your money structure? So like, say when you got your first couple of deals, how much of it really went back into marketing, and what was like the system moving forward to keep the growth pretty steady?
So everyone has a different strategy, and how much they spend will depend on their end goal. I'll use an example. Another broker that we work with in our office, who I know spends at least $15,000 a month to generate opportunities. He supports a much larger team. And I know agents that spend far less, and they support themselves. So it really depends on how big of a structure you're looking to spend, and how fast you want to get moving. There's spending smart money and there's wasting money. Today, in the age that we're living in with podcasts and digital media, some of the older technologies, no one invests in newspaper ads anymore. Flyers are becoming a thing of the past, because now when we take the mail out of the mailbox, we sort it by size, and anything bigger than so big it gets thrown out. I don't even look at it,
Yeah.
So, learning new strategies and taking advantage of technology, is a great idea in the changing world that we're in. As we discussed before we started here, having the right tools and knowing how to broadcast it, and get the message out, is huge. So, as far as, everyone has a different threshold. I keep low overhead just in general in life. I don't like to weigh myself down with a lot of debt.
Mm-hmm.
It also allows me to feel a greater sense of accomplishment, because I don't keep myself riddled with debt. There's salesmen that only want to hire other salesmen that are stressed with debt because it motivates people. Doesn't motivate me.
Yeah,
but
that's not really my thing.
So again, the amount that you spend could vary. If you're spending a lot of money on things that aren't producing, your return on your investment is very low. So it's a matter of spending it wisely, finding the proper places to spend your money, rather than how much of it to spend, in my opinion. I've seen very successful agents spend no money because they've figured out their method. Real estate is such a wide world. There's residential, there's commercial, there's leasing, there's investing, there's all kinds of aspects of real estate. There's different property types. People specialize in rentals versus purchasing versus listings. There's so many different ways of making money in real estate, that once you find out your way and you find a way of being consistent about it, you could potentially structure your future.
And it's almost like the needle question, where like you say, like, how sharp of a niche can I hit? And then finding like your special industry that you can go into.
Pretty much. And then refining it. There are certain tasks that are done by real estate agents that I feel that are great for training. That, you don't see many seasoned agents doing, but they're cost effective and they're proven to work. But you get to sometimes a point where you're like, okay, I've made some money. Now I could do it smarter. I don't have to do those hardcore door knocking on a hot Sunday afternoon. Many times I'll talk to young agents, and they'll ask me how I do it, and again, it's consistency. It's, when it's slow, you don't slow. When it's slow, you speed up. When you're going in a good market, you don't slow down, and, that's the focus and the consistency. It's not so much how much money you're making or spending, rather than spending lots of money on a cold internet lead. I might spend 3 or 4 nights at various networking events, making relationships with people, financial advisors, attorneys, bankers, plumbers, painters, everyday people, because those everyday people are talking to other everyday people. And in those conversations, people are saying, oh, wow, I'm thinking about selling my house this week. Maybe before the end of the year, I might look to move. And that person says, oh, wow, I just met Steven Litman from Blue Realty. He's a great guy. He's very knowledgeable. He'll take the time to Next thing you know, I'm getting a call. Hey, I just gave your number to my coworker. Can you help them? And so again, it's relationships, and those are huge return on your investment, because again, it's something that's going to hit over and over if you do it right. Whereas if you buy an internet lead, you may only get one out of it. So it's not what you spend, it's how you spend it. It's how you work your time. I often tell people who ask me about my first year in real estate. My first year in real estate, I already had many years as a mortgage broker, so I understood the business and the models and so on and so forth. When I made the change, it was due to some personal family things that were going on, and I just needed a change in my life. And I didn't want to necessarily go back to school full time and join into a whole new career like I'd done so many times in my life. Real estate was the easiest parlay. I already knew a lot about it, knew the contracts, the ins and outs. So my first year I spent at a big brokerage, a franchise brokerage, and I closed 32 transactions that year. And my manager that year sat me in her office and she said how proud she was of me and how some of the senior agents had not closed 32 transactions that year. And I had my 1099 in my hand at that time. And I was looking down and I'd made about $14,000. That's not $140,000. That's $14,000. That's about $1,000, over $1,000 a month. It's not a lot of money. Closed 32 transactions. I put 40,000 miles on my car. Worked like a dog. They were all rental transactions, $1,200, $1,500, $2,000 rental transactions. You're not going to make a lot of money.
No.
My second year in real estate, I only closed about 13, 14 transactions. I made almost 80,000. Did half as many miles. They were all purchase. So again, smart. It's not about how much you spend. It's not about how hard you work. It's about making sure you're working on the right transactions. My first year in real estate, I worked with a young kid who had also gotten his license that year. He closed 2 transactions for $2 million and we didn't see him for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Kid made like a lot of money on those 2 transactions, Yeah. So, 2 transactions or 32 transactions, which do you want to do? I want to do 2 transactions and make the same money. You know what I'm saying? So it's working smarter. It's about knowing how to spend your money, not just spending it. You can go out and you can buy the fanciest of equipment and make the prettiest of productions. If you're not giving out good quality, no one's going to watch it. And what good is the high end equipment? You know what I'm saying? So it's about having it, the right stuff, and knowing how to properly use it. And
got you. And then especially since you're now moving into like a new area with, again, new people, how are you going to structure it? Are you just going to network your way out, or are you going to help with like the acquisition of new customers, like what Mike Longo does, such as his advertisements and just his spiel? So how are you going to structure that while opening up your own place?
So as an individual broker, those things that we were talking about were good because it was just me and it was just me that I was worrying about. There's going to be a lot of things that I'm going to be doing as the new year starts. I'm going to start looking into chamber meetings, doing some more networking, meeting people in my community, getting to build new relationships. As all of my relationships are Broward based, pulling electricians and plumbers, from here is kind of hard. So I'm going to have to rebuild a lot of that. And that will be part of my base. There'll definitely be some advertising done. We have to get the brand out, let people know who we are.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of different types of marketing we're going to do. We're going to do some banners and such. Going to start doing the old cold calling and door knocking because again, where do you begin? Where do you start? When you're at the foundation, you have to build a good, strong foundation. You don't want to just throw up a couple cards and then try to put cement on top of that. So you have to start with something good and solid.
Yeah.
So reputation, knowledge, those are good foundations. Then build around that by learning some new networks and building those new relationships.
How much of a Broward Blue Realty are you going to take with you to Los Angeles as far as like your networking and different assets?
That's undisclosed. No, there's even though it's a Coral Springs based office right now, our agents are vast. I myself have closed business from Port St. Lucie all the way down through into Miami. So we're not restricted to the area that we work. And we do have a couple agents that are looking to potentially join up with us and help us with our growth. I'd be happy with 4 or 5 to start, because the synergistic effect of having people who know, like, and trust each other that are working together in an area helps. And that's what helped Blue grow initially.
Really?
Got you. So I'm just going to kind of hit the rewind button and kind of go back to where you started off. Now you started off in all these, basically, I would say dead end jobs where it's like you can only grow to a certain point of now you have a manager in front of you. So it's like with all that being said, I was like, you were more like a yes, sir, man. Like you were like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So what really helped you get out of that habit and then really be an entrepreneur?
So in many of my jobs, I worked up from the yes man to the man, and still found that I wasn't, even as a manager, whether it be working at a restaurant or if it was at American Express or when I was at CompUSA, it still was limited. So, and you're always saying yes to someone else.
Yeah.
And today you still say yes to someone else. You know, we treat our clients as if they're our bosses. So I always have a new boss, even though I am the boss. So, you know, there's always a level of even as an entrepreneur, you still have to have some respect for systems and someone's always going to be telling you what to do or what they want you to do. The nice thing about being an entrepreneur, you get to choose if you want to do what they're asking you to do. Within the real estate business, there's a lot of things people ask you to do that you might not like to do that you're going to do, you know, and that's just, you know, something of, again, if you're working for the man and they tell you to go mop the floor, that's part of your job description. You better go mop the floor.
Yeah.
It's part of your job. And it's all about a matter of perspective. One of the agents in the office had come in, he's a newer agent, and he was sharing his feelings and they were not in necessarily a positive light. And I was letting him vent. And then I twisted it on him. I said, you know, if you change your perspective and the verbs that are coming out of your mouth and the energy that you're spewing, and you focus on the opposite energy, you know, and just change what's coming out of your mouth as, God, this is so annoying, as these are great opportunities. They may be hard opportunities, but if it's a hard opportunity and you're learning and you're growing, you take it, you embrace it, because you haven't earned the right for the lack of experience. Even today, with the years that I've had in, and even with the licensing that I have as a broker, every day I learn something new. Every day. I learn leadership skills. I learn more about my job, because there's still things that even as a broker, there's so much to know. So there's, you know, you can't be stagnant.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to change and adapt and be able to roll with the technology and roll with the changes that are coming.
I have a question. So when you made the decision to branch out as your own, did you plan for this in your savings accounts, and did you make sure you had things stacked up so if things ever had like a rough year, you're going to be okay? Or did you just kind of just like wake up and just like, let's get it done?
2021 turned out to be a pretty solid year for anyone that was alive.
Agreed.
Yes.
So as a seasoned agent and broker, it was exceptional for me. So this year positioned itself to be a year of opportunity. Was it something that I was asked why I got my broker's license not too long ago. And my answer was, I don't know. I guess I just wanted it. You know, why just be a sales associate? Let me be a broker. Brokers means you know more about management and running, you know, the business rather than the law that you're taught in real estate school. Again, it's just a higher level of knowledge. People respect a broker more than they respect a sales associate. But I never really saw myself managing and owning an office, but I wanted the respect of a broker.
So let's just hop into, so you live up beneath the means and you say that doesn't drive you. What's your driver? Because if you're good, you're comfortable, you had a great year, what keeps you going?
Knowing that next year is another year you have to be able to make it. So you just keep on grinding. And you know, don't get me wrong, living within one's mean doesn't mean that you're not living and you're still consuming. And when you consume, you still have to produce. So it becomes a repetition that you have to perfect, or else you got to figure it out, you know? So that's the drive, you know, the drive is life. It's the everything that you want in life. It's not just the one desire. It's not just the one goal. It's the all of them in culmination that keeps me going. It's the fact that I know that, again, next year I'm going to have to repeat it again. It's not just about this one great year that I had, because next year could be like last year, not so great, or a pandemic, you know, something I wanted to talk about. You know, we're dealing with something today that none of us have ever thought could happen. I mean, you know, history shows that this happened, you know, but wow, in our lifetime, and our grandparents, we've never have to deal with this. And with technology and how things have, the communication that we have, and so best laid plans still fall short because there's things in our life that we can't control, that we can't see coming, that we can't plan for. Like if everyone knew that the pandemic was coming, everyone would have been living their lives a little bit differently and saving a lot more. But you don't. You live, and sometimes even though you have the best plans to save and to do, life still happens, and that 4-letter word is just as bad as any other 4-letter word that you're not supposed to say, because it throws, good things at you, it throws bad things at you. So the drive, the why, whatever your why is my life, is so I can have, so I can do, so I can not have to not have and not do.
So is that why every day I see you in the office, every day you talk, like any interaction, you're just so full of energy, so full of excitement? Is it because you realize that I have to work as hard as I did today, then tomorrow, then the next day, then the next week?
Well, that's just my drive.
Yeah.
That's just, and so like you said, you see me in the office sharing, I've had lots of opportunities. I've been through a lot of different types of scenarios where I've learned, and our team at Blue, like family, I don't want to see you fall on your face. I don't want you to have a bad rep. I want you to know what I know. You can't know everything I know because you haven't been through everything I've been through. But if I could hear that you're going through something, if I could share a little light on your situation and help you get through that, it's relationship building.
Yeah.
It's part of my DNA. It's part of my personality. Before I was in sales, I was building relationships. I didn't even know why I was building relationships, because that's the way my life was driven, was having relationships with people. And today, a lot of those relationships still pay. And so, if I wasn't who I was, I might not be so successful in my pursuit of being an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur just isn't being, a realtor. That's being a job still. Being an entrepreneur is having multiple forms of income, in my opinion. You can't just expect, one industry to drive you everything your entire life.
Yeah.
Insurance, maybe. Insurance has residual. It's pretty much the only industry that I know of that
pays a premium every month back to you.
Every month or every year, depending on someone's renewals. So, one could say that you could build up a portfolio over a few years and have it, paying you back. And I have friends who are in the insurance world and it works for them. You have to like the product. You have to like what you're selling, or else you're not going to sell it good. Do I like real estate? I love real estate. So I sell it good.
Got you. So just to go back to your 4 streams of income, you want to kind of walk us through that?
Sure. It all depends on what your structure is. I have kind of based my financial around the financial industry. I wanted things that kind of couple together. So I have my mortgage license. I have my real estate license. I sell also life insurance. I don't actively sell it, but I'm knowledgeable about mortgages. I don't sell them any longer. I have my licensing for it. So when someone checks me, I'm legit. And it gives me that confidence when I speak to someone about a mortgage product that I know what I'm talking about. When I refer them to someone I know, like, and trust, we could communicate in terms that we understand. We work very well together. Same thing as I parlay that into my real estate business when they're asking questions about real estate. And I've always found that within those two worlds, something that a lot of people don't talk enough about is life insurance, and how, when you take on a $3,000 mortgage, okay, and you're a husband and wife, and the husband passes away, well, what happens to the spouse who might not have the same kind of income? So these are types of transactions that all parlay within each other in various forms, and they're all often easier to be sold relationship based, because again, when you're talking financials, you don't want to talk to a stranger about how much insurance you want to have. You want to talk to someone who I feel more comfortable talking to someone that I know, like, and trust. And if I know someone that is the man or the woman in that field, I'd much rather deal with them than a stranger. So I feel that they are relationship products and they go hand in hand. And by having your license, you can refer off a mortgage, you could refer off a life insurance policy and still receive an income, receive a commission, legal, legitimate on the books commission, rather than a lot of times, I'll give you a referral fee, I'll send you a $50 gift card.
Yeah.
What's your favorite restaurant? That's not income. That's not income. Income is having the ability to earn receive earnings from a transaction. So, those licensings, I feel, go hand in hand in all kinds of ways. You have a conversation at the closing table and insurance comes up often. Health insurance, life insurance, property insurance, mortgage insurance, all these types of insurances. So again, having the license, being able to say, I'm licensed and I can speak about this with knowledge and confidence, and this is how it works. Building relationships.
Got you. So do you also invest in any other courses or any other further education?
Constantly. I think the more you know, the better you are. There are statistics that show the more designations you have as a realtor, the more money you're going to make. Why is that? Well, when you get your luxury living designation and you're speaking to people that are in multi-million-dollar homes, okay, you're going to learn things through these courses that are going to give you the knowledge and the tools. So when you're talking to the person who has that, they're like, wow, this guy really knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So you can't learn it unless you're doing it or being taught it. Most of the boards offer some really great free classes. And even if they're not free, they're reasonable and they're to educate you, to give you more knowledge. The more knowledge you have, the more power you have, the more you can do. So, someone who doesn't take that opportunity to improve themselves, they're going to sit stagnant, and there's going to be younger people who are going to be more willing to put that time in to learn about that designation, to do that job, eliminates you. So, I feel it's important to stay on your game. Again, that's kind of partly why I think I got my broker's license was, what else can I do to excel and to achieve a higher level in this? And that was, there's not so many levels in real estate. So let me get to the top. And now that I'm at the top, let me see what else there is to do. And so, I'm all about taking and learning. There's tools that we use that are constantly changing. And if you don't take the time to learn them, you can't do your job very well. When we talked and we were doing our comp analysis and you were showing me how you do it and I was showing you how I do it my way because I've been doing it so long. The systems have changed. And thankfully, the old ways of doing some of the things that I do are still being done the way they're done. But Sean showed me a quicker way of doing some of the things that I do. And I was like, all right, kid, see, you learn something new every day.
Right.
Fact.
Yeah.
Not that the way I did it was wrong or the way that Sean did it was wrong. We both got to the same thing, but because he took a class and he was taught at a time later than he knew a different way to do it, that the system offered these new features. So if you're not willing to continue to learn, you're going to find yourself having a harder time doing what you're doing. So whether it be designations to give you more knowledge about different ways of selling real estate or different categories in real estate, like you said, you're finding your niche. You can't do that if you don't stay on top of your education and the things that are available to you.
How long do you plan on staying in real estate? Or, is this just your kind of long-term plan? And is this where you're going to go to retire? Or do you have something else planned? Either that's real estate investing, either that's living on stocks and dividends, or just,
Okay. So I'll tell you that, growing up, I grew up in a culture where if you couldn't afford it, you didn't buy it. You lived within your means. I had grandparents that were Holocaust survivors. They came with nothing, as many immigrants did, and that was what was hard coded into me. Even though I went into the military, after the military, all the jobs that I had were jobs where I had some kind of profit sharing or contribution to a 401k. And I still believe in the compounding effect. I think that if you could be really good about your savings when you're in your teens through your 20s and 30s and 40s, that will compound and that will pay off. Remember that 4-letter word I was telling you about before? Life. Okay. It doesn't sound like fuck, but it's life. Okay. And it fucks you just the same way. So, if someone can live in their parents' house in a beautiful, and have, things covered, it makes it much easier to save and to plan out those things. But life happens sometimes, and cars break down, and people get pregnant, and people die, and shit happens. So, I am a firm believer in diversifying your savings to mitigate your risk. I don't think you should all be in one avenue. You should, just like your income should be diversified, your savings should be diversified. You should have liquid, you should have long-term, you should have risk because you're young, and you should have stability because you need to, make sure that something's still there while the risk is going. And as long as you're able to do all four, then you're great. But what happens in life is people get to the end of the year and they say, wow, I made it through. It's a good year. Some people say, wow, I made it through and I've got $100,000 in the bank. So where you're at on that spectrum indicates or dictates a lot of what you can and can't do. What I learned as being an entrepreneur, before I diversified myself to the point that I am, I found that I was there's a lot of volatility in market conditions, things that are totally out of your control. 1 year I said in doing mortgages, I made almost 200,000, and the very next year I didn't make two.
Yeah.
What happened? The economy fell out. I didn't do anything different. I didn't change the way I spoke. I didn't change the products I was offering, and so you have to be able to adapt. It all comes down to being able to adapt and be diversified. So having as many of those as you can, the better. And if you can only do one, make sure you stick to it. And it's the consistency. And it's the consistency that so many people fail. They do it 1 or 2 weeks. It's like exercising. Oh, I'll exercise today, and then I won't exercise for the other 6 days. But at the end of the week, I want to feel better and stronger.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Your savings isn't going to feel stronger if you're not doing it consistently. So whatever you do, I say do it with consistency. Find the threshold that works, and if you have enough to diversify, diversification is important. I don't know that in my lifetime that I've seen one thing that was paramount, better than anything else, that you should just focus on that one. Most strategies have diversification in it. So that would be my answer to that easy question.
I mean, the question was kind of dodged completely. It was more of like, are you doing real estate long term?
Okay. So I don't want to do anything else.
Okay.
I enjoy the freedom, the flexibility. I enjoy the task. And so I do not want to dodge any question that you throw at me, Sean. I hope to be in real estate some form of fashion. Mm-hmm. This is something that I enjoy doing, and that I can see myself doing long term.
Gotcha.
What's your favorite investment medium?
So again, it's risk reward. If I had it, I would love to be a real estate investor, but what I've learned from dealing with people like me who want to be a real estate investor and what being a real estate investor means, or what it takes, buying a home, mortgaging it to the max, and praying that you get your rent is not being a real estate investor. Being a real estate investor is having cash, buying cash, floating it until till it's made a profit, and not worrying about if the market value's gone down, or if you miss a month or two in rent, or if they broke the AC and now you don't have the money to replace it. That's not real estate investing. That's real estate wishing. And one bad month, people lose them all. The market has just as much volatility, so do I have a favorite? Again, I think diversification. Trends change, and you shouldn't be so focused on day trading versus, buying, certain types of stocks or anything like that. You have to be diversified. You have to stay knowledgeable. You can't sleep and then say, a month of no activity and come in and say, you're going to do this because this is what it was last month. Our markets change on a daily basis. So investment strategies have to stay current. So, planning for for the opportunities to be able to is, and then making those decisions on based upon the markets, based upon what's going, is the best way of doing it.
You hit an interesting point. You said there's real estate wishing and real estate investing. What are some of the key differences that you've seen in real estate wishers?
Well, I often joke, reality versus realty. A person finds their reality in realty when they say, I want X and I only want to pay Y, and it has to be in Z. And then they realize X, Y, and Z don't line up. They find X, but it's with B and Q. Price, location, size may not always go together. And so it's a matter of knowing the steps, knowing the market, again, as it's changing. What was a year ago is not what's today. What will be in a year from today is not what's today. Someone once heard me say I was a data analyst, and they came in, I thought you were a realtor. What do you mean you're a data analyst? I said, well, I'm a broker, to be honest with you. But what I do is I analyze data. Constantly changing data. The data from today is not the data from yesterday. We have new comps, we have new sales, we have new listings, we have new information to look at that we can't just go based upon what we saw last week. Oh, well, last week I remember seeing these things. Well, what about this week? Well, we don't work from week to week in the real estate industry. We work, on a 3 to 6 month basis in most cases, sometimes more depending on, what we're looking to do. But having that is definitely helpful,
Got you. So, again, I haven't experienced the 4-letter word a lot, LIFE. And right now I'm using real estate to kind of slingshot me into being like a real estate investor and owning a property at 22, maybe 24. But the way you said it, I just kind of want you to walk me through it, because my plan is to, again, save up 10 to 20 grand, invest, FHA something, and then leverage that debt till I'm like right here. But as you're saying it right now, it doesn't work. So
I didn't say it doesn't work. It's not the ideal solution, in my personal opinion. Mm-hmm. My personal opinion as a professional, that doesn't mean that every professional that you speak to is going to have the same opinion. I see many people struggling to, do you think it's better that you rent and own a property and have someone else pay? There's different philosophies. Yeah. I feel a person is best investing when you're investing first in yourself. So instead of mortgaging a property to the hilt for someone else to rent, let me back this up. We're just in a time today where values are so high that the return on investment is low. Okay. Even with rates being low, you have to be able to have a mortgage less than what you can get for rent. You need to show a profit. You want to show enough of a profit. So if you could find the right property at the right price and take out a mortgage and then rent it for twice what you're going to collect in rent as you are paying in mortgage, and that's a great investment. And then that fear is not so great. Yeah. But if you're taking out a $950 mortgage and you're only collecting $1,200 in rent, it's not much profit. No. So again, not a very good, first month that you don't get rent paid, first month that you have an appliance that broke, first month that, you went with a vacancy, you're saying, oh my God, that mortgage has to be paid. Well, it's great if you're living at home and you have no mortgage and you have no car payment, you have no kids and you have no life and you have and you have money. So do I say don't buy your first property as an investment? I wouldn't. Yeah. Buy your first property, make it your own, pay it off in 5 years. If you're making so much money, then take that free and clear property, turn that into an investment, then go buy yourself another property. Gotcha. Have the income from one property paying for itself and potentially the next property. Gotcha. Rather than having one property, having it mortgaged to the hilt, and then having to struggle that way. It's so does that make sense? There's not saying that doing your way is wrong. A lot of it is based upon the inventory, the market conditions, the prices and so on and so forth. So, it could work. There was a time years ago where people were buying properties and mortgaging them to them. Values were increasing. Mm-hmm. There was profit in properties. They were renovating. Today, we're seeing a lot of properties being sold that are nothing like what they were being sold back in 2006 and 2007. People were buying properties, they were fixing them up. And today people are taking those same properties. They're just not fixing them up and they're selling them for those same high prices. So
See, I appreciate this advice because all I see is clickbait videos where they say, just get the FHA, go. And no one wants to hear that. It's probably not the smartest idea because everyone wants to make mad money really quickly. And when you break down the numbers, it's like what they say, anyone can get rich on Excel. But when you actually think about like, you don't think about like an AC breaking down, that will kill an entire year's profit if it's big enough. So really genuine advice.
So, because of my background in mortgage, I can speak confidently and tell you that, well, first and foremost, FHA mortgages are not investment products. So anyone who is selling someone on using an FHA mortgage because it's got the smallest 3.5% down payment and you can go in with the 640, 620 credit scores and you can still get a mortgage.
Yeah.
FHA loans are designed for owner-occupied properties. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't owner-occupied it for the first year and then move out of it and use it as a rental. You sure can. But it's not used to purchase investment properties. So first and foremost, anyone listening to me out there, don't do that. FHA loans were created to complete the American dream in the sense that there was a time where only people with super high credit scores and lots of wealth were able to purchase homes. So the federal government created the FHA mortgage. FHA stands for Federal Housing Administration, not First Time Homeowners Administration, not First Time Homeowners anything. It's Federal Housing Administration. And the program was designed for people with credit scores lower than 720, people that didn't have their 20% to put down, and it gave everyone the flexibility of purchasing. And so the program, it's not just, you can't have had an FHA mortgage within the last 3 years. So even if you had a mortgage when you first turned 20 and you sold that property and now in your 30s, you're looking to buy another property, you can still use an FHA loan as long as you don't have an open FHA loan. Okay. So, there's just a lot of misconception about what FHA loans are. Today, you can get a conventional loan with 3% down, depending on your credit scores. But that's a program for another hour. Mortgage related products and how risk-based pricing for mortgage insurance. Because these are things that, when you look at investing, when you're looking at buying a property and you want the most effective product, the most effective loan, you want to have the best credit scores, the most money to put down, and you want the shortest term. If you have 720 credit and you're putting down 20%, you pay no mortgage insurance. Mortgage insurance, it's insurance that protects the lender that if you default, they get repaid. Doesn't protect you, doesn't protect your life, doesn't protect your property. So it's money that the banks are collecting because you don't have enough money to put yourself in a position where there's enough equity that the bank doesn't have to feel like if you default, they're not going to get their money.
Yeah.
So insurance is a necessary evil. You need to have auto insurance if you're going to have a car. You should have health insurance and life insurance if you're going to be living. Okay. But mortgage insurance, for the lender, I'd rather have life insurance that God forbid something happens to me, my loved one gets the house or gets money to cover my portion of the house. Those are smart investments. But FHA, that mortgage insurance goes to the Federal Housing Administration to protect them that if there's a shortfall, there's a payment being made. It doesn't protect you for anything. So factor that into your investment. You want to be savvy and say, I'm making these great investments. Look at where your money's being spent. Makes sense? Yeah. So again, owning a property free and clear, you don't have to pay back the bank. You have to pay your taxes, your insurance, and so on and so forth. The rest is profit. When you have debt, if you're spending, if your $900 payment, if $300 of that is mortgage insurance, just think if you didn't have that mortgage insurance and you were doing that same scenario, whatever you were profiting, you'd be profiting $300 more. So is an FHA product a smart product to invest in? If you're spending an extra $200 a month, $2,400 a year for a product that is costing you, when better you save that money for a little bit longer, buy it cash, have no overhead on it. Mm-hmm. But again, some people would say that's not, with money being as cheap as it is, guys, if you have a bank account with liquid cash, $300,000 in it at all times, okay, having a couple mortgages isn't that bad because then you're leveraging your money on your money. But again, if you're leveraging more than 80% and you're paying that mortgage insurance, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So, let's restructure that question and say, hey, Steven, I'm buying a house with 20% down that I want to make as an investment. Well, you're putting more money down. You're creating a better investment for yourself. You're reaping a greater reward because you're not paying some of those extra fees. You see how that same question just got changed totally in the way that I'm looking at it and processing it. Mm-hmm. So again, it's just knowing, it's about knowing the products that are available and knowing how they impact that will determine, the outcome.
Yeah.
So as we start to wrap up, is there anything that we didn't ask that you feel would be important in this conversation?
I told you this was going to be a 4-part series.
Oh, easily.
Life has given me a lot of lessons, but, taking it one step at a time, learning like you guys are doing, teaching people, giving this information out, the people that are actually taking the time to listen to what a person like me has to say and share, that is power, and good for you guys for doing this stuff. This is, it's a matter of not being the kid that I was, listening to people like me when I was in your seat and not doing something. If you're going to save, start saving
today.
Even if it's just a little, stay consistent.
Yeah.
Stay consistent. If you do it consistently, you can achieve great goals. You're starting young, you have that much more time to do it. That's the whole, it's math. It's complex math, but it's math. It's really simple. You just do it and you continue to do it and you'll reap the rewards. Don't do it. Don't look back and say, God, I should have done it then, because you can't go back and do it then. My advice, pick a number, start off with that. If that works at the end of the year, double that, do $100 a month. If you could do $100 a month at the end of the year, you have $1,200 in savings in cash. Make it $150 a month that you start saving. And if you're able to save that without realizing it in your lifestyle, then you're on a good pattern and that will start to build. Find a couple of good investments, let it sit. Don't be one who's pulling and jumping and there were some great success stories with Google and Yahoo, people who got in when it was really cheap, Mm-hmm. Keep yourself diversified.
Gotcha. Now, would you like to plug any socials?
Like a hashtag, Stephen Litman is my realtor.
Like social media, email, number, like any way to contact you?
Yeah. Definitely would love to get some calls from this. My phone number is 954-649-3081. I am a tri-county agent, Palm Beach, Broward, Miami-Dade, even up through Port St. Lucie and Jupiter. And I'd stretch it for most people. Catch me at stephenlitman@gmail.com. And like I said, hashtag Stephen Litman is my realtor. This was great. I had a lot of fun. Can we do this again soon?
Of course. Oh man. Yeah. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.